lot of students that I talk about this with, they'll say, yeah, the 3 E's. It's something easy to remember, but the 3 E's then are envision, energize, and enable. And if I take the E's off of there, the envision kind of, means this. Set a vision and have people want to be part of it. That's the Pied Piper. Energize says energize people about wanting to follow you. And enabling says give them the wheels, give them the legs to do so. Because if they do, everybody's marching in the same direction. Well, underneath these 3 E's, envision, energize, enable, Procter & Gamble identified 18 very specific behaviors that they felt needed to be demonstrated for one to be an exceptional leader at any level within their organization. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk with you a few minutes about those behaviors. The first one is, the first of the 3 E's is envision. Creating the future, gaining enrollment and commitment from your team. And the 4 very specific behaviors that they look for are this. Do you create a picture of the future and keep it alive? That's important, keep it alive. So you're setting a vision out there. You're letting people see what you see and hear what you hear, and you're keeping that alive on a regular basis. Leaders have a passion. They focus on possibilities. They don't complain about what can't be done. They focus on the things that maybe can. Leaders provide focus in an organization. I guarantee you, when you get to the business world, people are juggling 100 things every day. Leaders provide a focus on key objectives and strategies. We work on this stuff, we succeed. We succeed, then this is what's in it for all of us together. That's that vision. And leaders personally communicate the vision and what they stand for in both words and actions. And that's kind of the management by walking around. That's part of being a good communicator, regularly getting out with your troops, giving update meetings, etc., being visible about what you believe in and letting them know. Those are the 4 specific behaviors that Procter & Gamble believes need to be demonstrated under envision. Okay, let's go to the next. The next E is energize. And that's inspiring people now to deliver the future. And there's 4 behaviors here. Number 1, set goals and establish high standards and clearly define roles and responsibilities for folks in the organization and provide a consistent focus. And that one there is the reason why you're going to do an exercise tonight, is to talk about goal setting. But it's kind of interesting when James asked me about that. He says, we got an evening to talk about goal setting. And I said, well, it's right there. Okay, and this is something that I got 28 years ago. Leaders demonstrate a sense of urgency. People around them know that they want to get stuff done and they'd like to get it done quickly. Leaders communicate very well. They're open and they're honest in their communication. They encourage others to do the same, to be a communicating organization. And lastly, they demonstrate caring for people and they hope to build trust. And this is a big one, because there's a lot of folks out there that really try to be leaders, but they're not trusted by their troops. And I don't necessarily mean military troops. I could, but I'm talking about troops in the business world or troops that are on a team like yours. These are the 4 very specific behaviors then that have been identified to achieve good leadership, and this is in the area of energization. There are 10. There are 10 behaviors, so there's a little bit more in terms of enabling. But enabling means inspiring people's capabilities to achieve better results. Develop a learning organization and develop an organization that can deliver. They may see the vision and they really want to be with you because they're energized, but they can't because there's not enough horsepower there. Okay, so how do you do that? One thing you have to do is define and deliver the capability. And what that means, if it takes resources to get it done to achieve the vision, the leader, whether it be of a team or of a company, has that responsibility and needs to demonstrate that behavior. I believed in this one, personally participating in high leverage system improvements. The things that were important, if we had a product team working on it or things of that sort, I'd drop down and say, can I be a member of your group this afternoon? I'd like to participate. But what that did is it demonstrated something to them that I cared about it, and I think it really makes a big difference. Leaders eliminate barriers in the organizations. You get snagged up an awful lot. Sometimes the leader's the person that has to come in and separate and say, okay, now let's get back on task. Leaders proactively learn. They get better. They're hungry for learning. They're hungry for new technology, and they encourage others in the organization to do so as well. Leaders express support and confidence in the ability of others. What leader ever got ahead by showing the whip all the time? If you know what I mean. Leaders effectively delegate. Leaders that try to do it all, micromanage, etc., will never, ever be identified as a good leader. You have to delegate to others and show trust and confidence in their abilities. I like this one here. Leaders have to reward and celebrate successes. I made sure to do that in our company to let people know how proud I was of the successes that they, together had as a team. Leaders personally lead the career development process. And there's an end game here, is that we know that everybody wants to have a good career, but we also know that if we don't provide the opportunity for that good career, they're going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else. And remember, I can replace everything in this place but you. So one of the things that good leaders are going to do is to try to create an organization where career development is really well entrenched. And as a result, a guy like me, comes out of Lehigh and stays with a company for 30 years. It's unheard of, okay? But I never had any reason to leave because I had good leaders from the time I learned this. Leaders value the unique differences that individuals bring to the organization. You might call this diversity, but it doesn't have to do with necessarily nationalities and things of that sort. It's just differences. And I'll give you a good example here. If I grabbed 4 mechanical engineers that were all sophomores and they were all 6'1" and 160 pounds and grew up in Baltimore, and I asked them for a solution to a problem, I don't think I'd get a very creative answer. But if I got males and females, different classes, maybe different nationalities, etc., they're bringing so much in the way of insight and experience that I think I get a far, far different solution. That's what we're talking about in business. And what leaders do is they develop that the kind of mindset that by us valuing those differences, we can get better ideas and be more creative. And lastly, leaders tailor behaviors to specific situations. It's a huge issue. It's called situational leadership. I had a football coach here at Lehigh, and we like to laugh. We said that he was the toughest SOB we ever ran into in our lives. And sometimes, man, we were getting our butt kicked and not very happy about it. But other time, he was hugging the hell out of us. And so he, as far as I'm concerned, was one of my best examples of situational leadership because he knew when to bang on you hard, and he also knew when to hug you real hard. And good leaders learn that trait as well. It's not just about being liked. Sometimes I didn't like that football coach very much, but here I am 40 years later saying that man influenced my life. Okay, but he knew situational leadership. So ultimately what I've done is I've just shown you 3 E's, and I've shown you 18 behaviors that are falling underneath those, and essentially I could put them on one page. And this one page I've kind of utilized both, before the computer and all that other stuff. I used to carry it around with me as a hard copy. Right now I don't do it. I put it on my flash drive and things of that sort, but this was my Bible. What I always did is I looked at it and I said, now I know how I can be better. I have to demonstrate these behaviors. Okay, so that's real neat. But let me ask you this, how many engineers do we have in the room? You got a bunch of them, so you're going to like this. By the way, I was in mechanical engineering for a year and a week. I was in accounting for a week. And then I finished up in finance for 2.5 years. So I kind of made my way there. But even finance people know this and engineers know that. How would I know if I was a good leader? I got these behaviors and I'm hoping that I'm going to deliver on them. So essentially what I did is I took it one step further. When I was president of the company, I thought that the only way that I could develop my leadership skills, continue to develop my leadership skills, was to get direct input from those that I led. So I got my people and I said, I'm going to do a blind survey, and I got 18 behaviors, and I want you to grade me 4, 3, 2, or 1. If I always exhibit that behavior, you give me a 4. If I sometimes do it or frequently do it, it's 3 and 2 and 1. So now what I'm doing is I'm getting a metric around it. That's what I thought the engineers would get, excited. But at this point now I can look, and I got a scorecard, and I can look down there and go, feel real proud about one, and maybe on a couple others go, ooh, I think I could have done a little bit better there. All right, so what did I do now? I went back and had an open and honest discussion with some of those colleagues of mine, either that filled it out or others, about, and I was real honest with them. I told them, I'm not too pleased with the feedback that I got in this particular area. Can you help me to understand why? And also, can you help me to develop an improvement plan for myself for this next year? And so each year, over about 12 or 14 years, I had kind of an improvement plan. How am I going to improve the things I'm good at, but more importantly, improve the things that I wasn't very good at? And when you think about this, well, what's the importance of doing that? And then the finance majors and accountants will like this one. If I was able to achieve a modest 10% improvement in my leadership skills each year, I'm not racing to the top. I mean, just 10% a year in terms of my leadership skills. It's cumulative effect. And what that means is in 7 years, I'll be twice the leader that I was during that base period. And in 14 years, which is about how long I was associated with this in the business world, I'll be 4 times the leader that I was when I began. So remember when I was back at 33 saying, I hope I'm trying hard, do they like me and stuff like that? 14 years later, I could look myself in the eye and I believed in my heart I was 4 times the leader that I was at age 33. I was now 47. And it's because I practiced this. So the learnings, I wanted to say this. Makes perfect sense, right? So just focusing on the CEO level, do you think most CEOs do it? And I say, no, hardly any do. And some of the reasons I've included here, number one, they don't have the guts. And what I mean by that is they don't want to hear the bad news. Okay, so they didn't want to see the bad score. I wanted to see the bad score, because then I knew that I could improve it. Some CEOs get a little bit of ego in them, and the ones that have a lot of ego in them, they don't really value the feedback anyway. If they ask it, they go, yeah, thanks so much. And their thinking is, look, I've done all the right things to be here at the CEO level. So I would say very few people do this. And there are limited cultures, within companies that'll do it. Procter & Gamble did it. And so they kind of instilled that into me. But I would say 95% of the companies that I'm aware of or associated with wouldn't even touch this. Okay? So the lessons, I guess, I learned at the end of the day were this. I really found that I could use those 3 E's and that they would work. And I felt so much more confident after 14 years that I was a hell of a leader. I felt really good about that. And I did have people wanting to follow and be part of my team. And I did have people wanting to run through a wall. And I knew that what got measured in terms of my leadership behaviors did get improved. So in that respect, I'll fall back to leaders are born, not made. Leaders are made. And they're made from those 18 behaviors. And everything that I could do to improve on those is what made me, in my opinion, a good leader. So what does it mean at the end of the day? I think that what I learned at that point, 27 years ago, it did change my life and career. Because now I started practicing behaviors. I measured those behaviors and it made me a better leader. And remember how results count? When I became the president of the company, which was in 1992, over that 10-year period, the team that I had together with me, we had 1,000 employees, the team that I had achieved a 700% profit growth in 9 years. A 700% profit growth in 9 years. That's a compound average of 25% a year in profit growth for 9 to 10 straight years. Now, you think I did that on my own? No. But I had people behind me that were delivering, and I was delivering on those 3 E's. Okay? So, what I would take away for you folks is just simply this. I think you have the opportunity to put the 3 E's to use now. If you're a member of a team or a group, you can show leadership. When you get your first entry-level position, you're going to be on a team. When you get your first assignment to run a small department, you're on a team. So remember that there's leaders at every level. I would encourage you to do what I did in any way you can, informally or formally, but try to measure. Because if you don't know where you are, you'll never be able to set a good plan. If you do, develop that plan, and I guarantee it's going to help you to be more successful than if you just went on your own. So let me move forward now and kind of drill that down. And essentially, this is going to lead you into your session today, which I do believe is important. When we looked at Energize, we said inspiring people to deliver the future. And the first goal, behavior here was set goals, establish high standards, and clearly define roles and responsibility. And that's tonight's work. And one tool that I would like to leave you folks with is an acronym. And everybody remembers acronyms, but the acronym essentially is this. In business, we used to think about, in terms of goal setting, we used to set up goals that we said were SMART. SMART goals. They were specific, they were measurable, they were attainable, they were very, very relevant in the organization, and they had time constraints. It was in a certain amount of